last week in its entirety is the entire Draymond Green experience. You win a game on Tuesday, you start ramping up the necessity of more wins. You show up in Orlando on a Wednesday when the score is 6-4, Draymond Green talks himself right off the floor. You spend 48 hours bleeping Draymond Green. Steve Kerr calls it unforgivable. Steph Curry cries and tweets that he will never take games like that for granted. And we spend 2 days on the radio taking phone calls of people who now believe, and the national media, ESPN, puts our logo on their screen for an hour and talks about how the Warriors are ready to move on from Draymond Green. And then he comes out on a Sunday night and is brilliant and wins a game that you have to win, and Steve Kerr spends the entire postgame talking about the brilliance of Draymond Green. So you tell me, what the hell do you do? What do? The guy you have to move on from, you can't move on from. So what do you do?
I don't know. And I know I get paid for my opinion, but it goes back and forth. It's like stock up, stock down. It's like if you check your investments every single day, you're going to go crazy. And I think you just got to look at the long haul here. If you check like how your stocks, how your investments are doing, one day you make money, one day you lose money, and you're all over the map. And I think fans with Draymond are all over the map like Draymond's all over the map. You see yesterday, and it's just the most pure form of basketball I've seen Steph and Draymond play together in a long, long time. They reverted back to being 18 years old on the playground. It was us two against you five, and we're going to do this for about an 8 or 9 minute spurt, and it was pure basketball.
It was incredible.
It was awesome. It was simple. It was throw everything out the window that's happened in our whole careers and the contracts and how much money we've made and how many rings we have and all the drama off the court, and let's just play, dude.
Yeah, but let's do this. But let me throw a scenario at you. No, you're 100% right, but let me throw a scenario at you. Tomorrow night, the Warriors lose by 12 in their own building against the Dallas Mavericks, and Draymond has 6 points and gets a technical foul, and there's a chest bump with Luka, and the Warriors lose. And the Rockets move back within one game.
Stock down, and now you get mad again.
That's the.
Do you think are you? Let me ask you this: are you done with them? Do they need to cut ties with them?
No.
That's it.
No. I am not that. But they need to do it in a different way. Their relationship needs to evolve. I believe it has become toxic. The relationship itself, the process, has become toxic, which is this cycle just continues. And you get the good game, and then you get the good behavior because you shine a light on it, and he knows you got to behave, and we're going to do that. And then as soon as you get comfortable with, okay, that's 7 straight games, and we had no technical fouls, and then there's one, and then there's a chest bump, and then there's a jersey grab, and then there's 2 technicals, and then there's an ejection, and then there's a podcast. That can't happen. I can't do that. Boy, I shouldn't have done that. Can't happen. Can't do that to Steph. Okay? Rinse, repeat, cycle starts again. And the Warriors the whole time are sitting there doing nothing, and I get why. I don't even know come Thursday with a game coming the next night what the Warriors were supposed to do. Nothing. Put them out there and start them Friday night and win the game. But that cycle is wearing people out.
Well, then you got to move in a different direction.
No,
but life will continue without Draymond Green.
It will.
The guy hitting right here on the screen,
yeah,
on the little screen to the left, was in D.C. Bryce Harper.
That's Bryce Harper.
He got traded, or he signed as a free agent. To Philadelphia.
Yeah,
and he got offered sort of a deferred deal to the Nationals. The Nationals won the World Series that year that he went to Philadelphia. There was talk about the clubhouse, and that you didn't know which guy was going to show up, whether he was hitting well or not, and that some guys are just lightning rods. Let's put it that way. Not of their own fault. Maybe Draymond has brought a lot of this on himself, but he's a lightning rod figure. And if they get rid of him and they go in a different direction and they trade him, it doesn't mean that life stops and they will never win another championship again.
No, of course it doesn't.
Those are the hard questions you got to answer. But like I'm talking about real time, last couple games of the season, just let it rip and put all this aside and address this when things calm down.
But I just think put all of it aside is not something he's capable of doing. Just put it aside and we're going to do this. Well, we'll see. Unless somebody says or does something wrong on the court at the wrong time and he gets triggered and off we go. And that's the other thing about this. Draymond, at least in that game, behaved in such a way where all he did was get tossed. But how close was he to doing something where you miss 5 games?
But all he did,
or the rest of the year.
But you can't say all he did was get tossed. That's huge.
It's huge. But my point is there's no doubt that he was an inch away from doing something that would have cost him the rest of the year. Cost him the rest of the year. If he touches someone in the wrong way, if he bumps someone the wrong way, after where we've been this year, he is out for the season. He might be out for next season. We've been told by the league that it is that shaky, the ground on which he stands. So, to me, he is still such an effective player. You're not going to get a good trade. I still want Draymond Green on the team, but it needs to be under a different umbrella.
So I've heard a lot of people talk that the organization needs to step in and they need to discipline and suspend him. But look, if you suspend him after what he did the other night, and we're making a run, now I got to sit here and answer questions, and it's a bigger firestorm than if we just be like, hey, we'll address this in the offseason.
Well, then now you're handing him the ultimate power. So that's the kid.
You think they should have suspended him the rest of the season?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you got to do this from ahead instead of from behind. Stop being reactive and be proactive. There needs to be a new agreement in place, written down on a piece of paper. You do this, then we do that. And we will follow it. Because if not, what the Warriors have done with Draymond Green is the same thing all of us have done with our kids. When they're throwing a tantrum, but if you don't stop, we're leaving Disneyland. And the kids at a certain point know damn well, you're not leaving Disneyland. You just spent $1,000 to get in. You're not leaving Disneyland. So I'm just going to keep screaming, and I'm going to lay here on the ground until you get me my churro. And you're going to get him a churro, so he shuts up. And then you're going to go on Space Mountain. And that's it. And you're teaching the whole process to continue over and over again. And so if you have reached a point, and for me, it's watching Steph Curry cry. That's significant to me here. If you've reached that point of frustration, you got to do this from ahead and stop trying to react the right way after the fact, because that's impossible. You're right. They don't want to suspend him. But if he knows and believes that it's not Adam Silver or anyone else, it's not a referee, it's Steph and Steve. If you do this, we're going to send you home.
You don't think that's already been discussed?
I don't know.
I would bet that it has, big time.
But it hasn't been done. It hasn't been, if it's been discussed, they haven't followed through,
Yeah, and the unforgivable word was huge.
Big. I can't wait to ask him about that on Wednesday, because unforgivable was followed by genius. That was the word he chose last night.
And he's right.
He's totally right.
I think he's right on both accounts. But I think, so what are you saying, though, about the Disneyland analogy? Because I like it. You think that there should have been some ramifications on this last one? Like you're missing a game, or you're sitting on the bench for a game, or we're not playing you for a game, and if this happens again, you're done, you're out of here?
First, let me say that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. Tim Kawakami in 13 minutes.
Because you're making great points, but I want to know, like hardcore. What did you say when you came on the air the next day? What was your take on Draymond when he got kicked out?
That we've reached critical mass. And that does not necessarily mean that you have to be gone, but we're still processing it. Remember, the day after it happens, we have not had Steve Kerr on yet for the first 3 hours of the show. He has not used the word unforgivable yet. That was that next day. So that came at, actually he came on early that day. So that was an hour into the show. He uses the word unforgivable. We're largely focused, though, on Steph Curry crying and the podcast that did not feel satisfying to the fan.
Yeah, something about if he turned his shoulder,
turned my shoulder
or something. Yeah.
Turned my shoulder, then he wouldn't have heard me. I wouldn't have gotten kicked out.
There was no accountability.
Yeah. But that can't happen. He just kept it light. It's like, this doesn't feel light. Like Steph Curry's crying. So again, what I'm trying to say is that I'm not saying the Warriors should have suspended him for Friday night. I'm saying that you got to stop doing this from behind, because from behind keeps putting the Warriors in a terrible spot. You keep having the same thing happen. It's no different than punching Jordan Poole. Well, what do? Well, we could suspend him. Uh-oh, it's ring night. We're not going to have him there for ring night? Oh, boy. You're in this terrible spot. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But if you've got an agreement ahead of time, I find in my life it's a lot easier to hold it. If you're like, we agreed to this, and we told you that if you don't do it, X is going to happen. And that's the Warriors, to my knowledge, have never done that. Now, maybe they have. I'm not there. But to my knowledge, they've never done that. It's always been, let's let the league handle it. Let's let the refs handle it. Let's let the teammates handle it. We're going to self-police. We got a game tomorrow. Kind of a reaction. If you're truly in tears and you're truly using the word unforgivable, that feels to me like a new agreement needs to be made. You get thrown out in the first quarter of a big basketball game, understand that's the next 5. Or we're going to, or you owe us $500,000. Or whatever. I'm not in charge of what that punishment is that will actually, like I'd ask Bob Myers.
We're taking your podcast away.
Right? You're going to have to wear number 78.
Dude, to your Disneyland analogy, I told my son when he was in Little League, gather around, everybody. Turn your radios up on Horrible Parenting 101. I told my son in Little League, I don't care how many hits you get. I don't care if you win or lose, but we're going to play the game hard every day.
Okay.
We're going to run out to our position. We're going to run in.
I like that.
We're going to sprint to first base. We're going to sprint everywhere. We're going to play like this is the greatest place on earth, and we're going to have a blast. And I said, I've been looking and watching the last couple of games, and you're kind of walking out to your position. You're walking in after the third out. You're not hustling down the line. I said, I'm just not going to sit here and watch this if I see it again. Like, if I see this again, I'm just going to leave the game. Dude, I walked home 2 miles from the game.
You left.
In the second inning. He did it again. I didn't say a word. And he saw me. I just walked home. And guess what? He hustled the rest of the season. But I just laid down the law, and I said, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to watch. I don't want to see this. I can't watch this. I don't care if you go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. I don't care if you give me 10-0. We're going to play the game hard. We're going to play it the right way. We're going to respect the game of baseball. And if we don't, I'm not going to watch.
Now, why you call that bad parenting?
I don't know.
I don't think that's bad parenting at all.
I got in trouble for that.
You did?
With the ex-wife.
Yeah,
yes.
well.
I got in trouble. I walked home. I walked 2 miles home.
But
guess what? He played hard the rest of the year and the rest of his life. And he was like 10 or 11, I think.
Did you see what you did? It was a pre-agreement.
Yeah.
You didn't wait until he was like crying on his way to first and stomping and rolling around in the dirt, and then you were going to run out to the field, and what do? You're
too hard on him. I'm like, no, trying to set. What
do you do? Discipline him, kick him out of the game, take him to the snack shack. Like there's no good answer there. But you had a pre-agreement, you stuck to it, you got a result. Draymond loves Steph Curry. He respects Steve Kerr. Something's got to come from those guys. Ideally, Steph. I know everyone gets mad at Steve. He's the coach. You really want someone who will like, dude, get your attention. It's Steph. And I'm not agreeing with Jay Williams and the whole like Steph's a bad leader thing. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's horrible take.
It's terrible.
It's not his job.
It's not his job, but I think it could be damn effective if he kind of built that agreement, because he's the one with the juice. He's got everything. He's got everything in his hand. He's the reason all of them are all going to the Hall of Fame.
Most importantly, he's got the respect.
Yes.
Than all that stuff. And I just think what I read into that, and is when he pulled the jersey over his head, he just was like, I'm done. I can't do anymore, and I'm over this. You had a different take, but I thought he was just done. He was at his wit's end. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he was just, I'm over this.
And you know what? That may be.
But then last night they played like they were best buddies on the planet, and that just those two in the third quarter was unbelievable.
Yeah, but great athletes can compartmentalize really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
He may still be done. or not. Or he's having the same inner conflict that we're sitting here having right now. God dang, I'm so mad at him, but he's really good.
What I've found over the years, whatever we're thinking, whatever the fans are thinking in their cars right now, what is going on behind the scenes.
For sure.
These guys are all having these same discussions in private, on the plane, texting each other, whatever. Maybe private discussions with Steve and Steph. Like, I mean, how much more can we take? Like this, I'm over this. Like, this has got to change. We have to go in a different direction. And then the one thing I keep going back to is I want to know I would love to know. Maybe we'll ask him on Wednesday. Apparently, ask Steve on Wednesday. Like, what happened in the locker room at halftime? He's not going to sit here and go, well, are you? Yeah. But like, I would love to be a fly on the wall in the locker room last night at halftime. That'd be awesome. Just to know what happened and why they came out and played with such urgency and passion.
Let's go to Austin in San Jose. Hey, Austin, what's up?
Oh my God, doing Mark. It's always good to talk to you, even though we don't always agree.
Oh, I love our clashes, Austin. That's why we clicked on you, brother.
It's good, man. It's good. Listen, just a quick. I'm not feeling the. I always get a little bit uncomfortable with, and the FP, you in the locker room, so I respect your opinion, but I get a little bit, and Mark as well. But I just get a little bit queasy about guys from the outside trying to interpret what guys on the inside are thinking. Pajitsky came out last night and made a point of saying how much Draymond means to him and the young guys. So regardless of all the antics, and I know people want to project the analogy of the kids and all that stuff, which I don't think is really valid. I think these are professionals. These guys get paid a lot of money. There's going to be situations that come up throughout the season that are going to maybe impact how things end up playing out on the court. But I don't think we should overreact to Draymond being thrown out, and this is some Steph crying. And I guess I don't see it that way, guys. These are grown men, and I think that we shouldn't overinterpret what we think we know. We should let the players tell us what the impact is. Well, that's kind of where I'm going. Guys, do you agree or disagree on that?
Well,
Mark?
Austin, here's what I'd argue. I'd argue that Steph's tears are telling you where their emotions are. Like, in other words, you took Brandon Pajemski's words. I would rather watch their actions. And Steph Curry's tears were his actions. All of them are going to go to a press conference and support their teammates. It's what they're all trained to do. They know better than that. They're not going to go to this isn't the G League. They're not going to go find a microphone and be like, that guy sucks. We would have won if he hadn't hit that shot. They're not going to do that. They're going to support each other. And they've been through thick and thin. And so I'm sure they're like any other coworkers. There's positives and there's negatives. But you can listen to their words or you can look at their actions. You said they're grown men. Well, he made a grown man cry. I think that's pretty freaking significant. That speaks volumes to me. That was stunning. That shook our trees. That's Steph Curry. We've been watching him for over a decade. We've never seen him cry on the court before. And it happened when the score was 6-4 on a Wednesday. That's a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah, but I agree with the caller. Like, it's all that matters is what's going on in that locker room and what those guys think about it. And we're speculating because we get paid to speculate and have opinions on this. But it's how they feel, and I guarantee you that it's a divided group on how they feel about him.
But then that's a big deal.